All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Tuesday interview. For over 15 years, I have been interviewing top performing loan officers, and always the goal is to have the single best sales meeting in the mortgage industry today. So Shivani, you ready to put on the best sales meeting in mortgage today?
Never been more ready.
Yeah. So I was going back and looking at my records because I was really pumped to interview Shivani. I mean, she just brings crazy energy. She's always sassy. She's always smart. She's always authentic and real. And then she's always really talking about how she's solving the needs of consumers in this market. Like, that is how I think of you. Like, you get to the speed of the need of a consumer very effectively, and then you give them solutions. So Shivani, this will be our, I think, fourth interview. How are things going in Reno, Nevada right now?
Is 4 times too many times to say how cool it is to finally be the person being interviewed after watching it for so many years and like getting to this point in my career based on the guidance from you, from Denise, from Josh, from Shayla, and finally getting to be one of those people? Is 4 times too many times to bring that up?
No, I hope that we could do this multiple times a year going forward.
This is the best community, and what you've done here is like, it was innovative when you did it, but it remains innovative now because you keep pouring into this community and giving so many of us a space where I know a lot of people on this call don't have a sales meeting at their company and they don't have that community and that collaboration. And for a lot of us, it's what gets us through to the other side of difficult markets, is that we're not alone. There's other people like Dave pouring into us.
Love that you called that out. And hopefully for anyone on this, you get value from this community. Also, there's a lot of producing branch managers that on this. And one of my goals, especially between now and the end of the year, is to bring content and value to producing branch managers so that, one, you can crush it, and two, you can help your team crush it. I do think the producing branch manager really is the most important role in mortgage, because you're with a company, you're a leader, and then you represent a specific branch and you are responsible for the success of those folks. So anyways, love your vision on that, Shivani. So how are things going in your market, and how are you doing from a production standpoint right now?
I wonder if anyone else is noticing this. So chime in the chat. But just this last weekend, I went back to seeing multiple offer situations. I had 3 clients make offers on properties, and we had to adjust our strategy because we couldn't ask for as much. There was another offer. And I was like, where did this come from? Like, literally up until Thursday of last week, we were asking for seller credits. We were able to negotiate on behalf of our buyers. That's the thing about this market, I think, that's been really unique. To answer your question about production, it's okay. It's not the best it's ever been, but it's doing pretty well for this year, just based on us having to position ourselves as advisors. That's what's working for us. And I'll show you a couple of the things that we've incorporated into our buyer consultation to help people be motivated to buy right now and get off the fence. But the coolest thing I've noticed about this market is that I was speaking to a real estate office here in Reno, Chase International. I spoke at their office meeting a couple of weeks ago. And one of the older agents in the office stood up and interrupts my economic report and says, here's the thing, guys, we just got to focus on the people who have money. That's it. Those are the only people who are going to get us through the other side. And I was like, I respectfully disagree, because our team is helping a ton of first-time buyers and some move-up buyers that wouldn't have been able to succeed in any other market. They would not have been able to negotiate to get a seller credit of this kind, to be this creative in how they structured their deal, to be able to look and have the time to really analyze the numbers and put their best foot forward. And so I disagree. I think we can help everyone right now. And as mortgage advisors, we are in the unique position of maybe I'm too grandiose here, but why not be, of helping to close the wealth gap.
You're not being too grandiose, and I do believe the mortgage professionals can be the first responders to the financial literacy crisis in America. Like if we really come together, if we get well organized, and we make sure that when we're helping a family, if it's just one family, we're giving a little more than just you qualify for a loan. We're giving them some financial literacy advice, rep versus own. And then, as you know, Kristen and I and Todd are pretty passionate about, let's get out to high schools and colleges and let's do financial literacy training one to many. So I think you're not being
Which
too
is a
grandiose.
beautiful thing, because when we talk about financial literacy, we're like, well, who's going to teach the kids this stuff? And it's easy to say that no one, there's how many of us have seen financial influencers that say, I teach you the stuff they should have taught you in school. But would you have been ready to receive that information in school? And would it have been given to you without strings attached? Because if we really want to implement these financial literacy programs into schools, the fear is like, who's going to be teaching them? Is it going to be like Wells Fargo or some big bank pushing nonsense on these formable minds? So that's why what you guys are doing is so pivotal, because we're educating people from a place of good, which has been so needed.
Yes, it is so needed. So guys, just to, Shivani is doing a lot of loans right now. When I asked her how many loans she's going to close this month, she's going to close over 15. So while it's not the historic numbers that she's wants to be closing or has closed before, it's still solid production. I only saw one person respond when she said, hey, are you starting to see the market heat up and see multiple offers? Kathy said yes. If you're not seeing that, say no. So I'd love to see some no's. And if you are seeing that, say yes. Now we did the whole headline here. So we got a no, never really slowed down in San Diego. I've heard that a lot too. Not in Denver. Yes, multiple offers, no. So it's kind of mixed. So you when we said what do you want to make the headline and kind of the central theme today, you said how to use your mind over markets. And so I want to make sure we unpack that. What does that mean to you, and why did you pick that as the headline today?
Well, I've developed a system, system to use for your sales process, for your conversion, and for your marketing. That's all about you helping people use their mind over markets. So it starts with us, right? We learn how to use our mind over the market, how to have the right mindset to navigate this and be able to zoom out a bit and see it for what it is. Because I think there's a problem in that we're all consumed in this little space, right? We're all reading the real estate headlines every day. We're all watching each other's reels. We're all basically digesting the information that our companies pay for people to give us so that we won't jump out our office window every day. And it's a bit skewed, like not everybody's been right at predicting what was going to happen this year. And I find that when I zoom out of the real estate specific news and I look at what other economists are saying, or I go to more boring sources of information, or I just step back myself and see for what it is, then I can be inspired to provide not just more accurate information, but more creative strategies to my clients, because they're not in this bubble that we're in, where we talk about real estate and analyze the market and expect the inflation numbers this morning at 5:30. They don't live in that world. And if we're going to connect with them on a level that will allow them to trust us and allow us to influence them in a positive way, we've got to figure out how to get on their wavelength, how to see things from their point of view.
Yeah, that two things that I always think of when I think of Shivani. I think of extreme authenticity, and then I always also think of extreme empathy. I mean, multiple times in the interviews I've done with you, you're one that calls that out. And I do feel in the mortgage industry so often we overestimate just how much psychological space the mortgage, housing takes in a consumer's mind. And to your point, it's not a lot. And that's our job, to meet them where they're at. So how are you applying that? How are you taking that concept and applying it in the market? And then you said, I got a system. I always like to let's break down the system at some point in this conversation and walk us through what your system is.
So one of the key parts of the system, it's 8 steps, but one of the key parts is to find the fear behind people's objections. And because we only have an hour, I'm jumping into this one specific step in the system because It's the one that I think will help you guys leave here with actionable items to incorporate into your buyer consultation. So when people come into our office, there's a lot of fear, right, in the marketplace right now. In previous interviews, Dave and I have talked about how distrust is really high. It remains that way. That interview might be 2 years old, but it's still the case. We don't trust the information.
It's still the
we're given.
default. It's still the default. Like more people are distrusting than auto trusting just in society in America today. That's just the way it is.
Exactly. In society, like we don't even trust doctors anymore. We do not trust the information we are given. Everything is suspicious at all times. So let's not take it personally, right? When people aren't immediately receptive to what we're telling them. And two, let's think about, or let's be aware of a single fact. People's fear, what's stopping them from taking action, is rarely going to be the objection that they explicitly express to you. So if, for example, someone comes in and they're really freaked out about a housing crash happening, the economy is unstable. It's becoming more public knowledge that an economy is weakening. Last time anybody was really fully aware of a recession, it was very painful for the housing market. So let's think about this. If they come in and they're scared of a housing crash, we want to jump in and explain how that's mathematically impossible, right, Dave? Like, we know that's not going to happen. We want to say the loan quality has never been higher, so people are not likely going to default en masse. These people, we gave them a financial colonoscopy to prove that they could really pay this mortgage in the worst of times. Third, they are sitting on a ton of equity. They're not going to give up this nest egg back. That's probably their only savings they have, is that forced savings account. All of those things are true. All of those things are the wrong thing to say right then. You can get to it later, but when someone comes in and they're telling you their objection is they don't want to buy at the top and then have their home value go down after they close, I want everyone to write this down, because in so many different conversations, this question will help you actually get to a place where you can connect with the client. And I say, first, I validate. Yes, that would be very scary. Two, what would that mean for you? Always ask this question. Someone's freaked out about interest rates. What does that mean for you? Find out what it means to them, because maybe they don't even know yet. For the housing crash, maybe they don't know that if they buy and their home value goes down, the bank doesn't automatically come take their house back and put their baby's crib outside in the rain. Maybe they don't know that. Maybe they don't know that they just keep making their payment and nothing happens. But as long as they're not trying to buy this house and flip it 6 months later, if home values went down, which we'll get to why I don't think they will, but nothing would happen to you. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. And it fits under something I talk a lot about, which is speed to need. I talk a lot about, hey, my 38 years in mortgage rates have just gone down to 2%. And now we're in this era where 63% of people have 2%, 3% mortgages on their house. They have more debt than ever. They have more equity than ever. And really the key to success going forward in mortgage is speed to need. Like, you got to get to the need of that consumer super fast. And I look at what you just shared as like a really good tactic to get to the need. So like a little micro lesson within our Mortgage Coach 10X. And I do want to remind everybody, this is a 10X interview. So if you go to trustengine.com/10X, we have a microsite that has, what I think are just really compelling and valuable sales meetings with top performers that are like in the market right now doing top production, and their advisors. They're using Mortgage Coach. So we'll put a link to that. But I love where you're going with this.
If we can think like about our demographics, right? The largest amount of home buyers right now are millennials. But let's think about what millennials have been through. So, everybody's got opinions about them and what they're doing, but they're highly studied. And we know that they value experiences over materialistic things. But have we ever thought about, like, these people, millennials, graduated college likely during the Great Recession. So the job market was shit. And at that time, they'd probably recently or about to see a very close family member lose their house to short sale or foreclosure. That's going to impact their view of real estate. Then once they finally do get a job and get maybe 10 years, maybe 5 years, somewhere in there of solid earning power underneath them and start to get a footing, here comes the pandemic and slaps them. And then everything's weird again. Also, though, because they graduated and became adults, earning adults, during a time when the Fed was already starting stimulus. So we think of the Fed and what caused inflation. So many of us think it started with the pandemic, but we have to remember we've been in this era of the Fed pumping sugar into the economy in some form since 2009. There's been 4 cycles of quantitative easing where they've been giving money, pumping sugar. Maybe it wasn't writing checks like they did during the pandemic, but they held interest rates low. So we've never been adults in an economy that was a completely fair marketplace. We've always been adults in an economy where the Fed is providing some kind of stimulus to keep us hyped up like toddlers. But what happens when you give a toddler too much sugar and you never give them water or give them a nap or any protein? There's a crash. And that's what's happening, right? Is that there's a reckoning that has to happen when you take away the sugar. Eventually it has to happen. But here we are dealing with this entire generation of adults who've never had to operate in a completely fair marketplace. They've always had the government providing some kind of stimulus. And so if we can think about that, then we can understand how they might view buying a home and investing in real estate a little differently than any other generation that we've worked with previously.
Really, really good point. So I've seen a few reactions. Guys, use the reaction screen as we go. If you have questions, comments, Frank said, boom. Aaron just said, so insightful. Notice, guys, we did put a link to the 10X site. So make sure that is a resource. I mean, when I first made that microsite, I made it for producing branch managers so that 1, they could lead by example, and 2, they would have resources to do teaching and training. So check out that link. So let's get a little more tactical. You gave us one kind of script sequence. You also said, hey, there's 8 steps. Maybe actually before we go further, do you mind just listing out those 8 steps just so I know what they are conceptually?
Yeah. Let me pull it up for you guys.
And by the way, if you want to share anything on your screen, feel free.
Yeah.
Love.
Let me see real quick.
By the way, Ben loves the baby on sugar analogy.
I'm a mom, so.
Yeah, you're always tying it in there. And then Herb, let's see what Herb said. We've been artificially low rates since 9/11. As you stated, the Fed was trying to pull down the economy pretty much since then. Yeah, I think he's just validating what you said. So guys, appreciate the validation, and also feel free to put up any questions.
So the 8-part system starts with figuring out your story. Why should anyone work with you over your competition? And that seems kind of basic, right? But how many of you can spit that out in 3 succinct sentences right now without hesitation? But it's really important that you be able to do that. And it's a really important thing you can help your realtor, your referral partners be able to do. A huge pivotal point in my business is when I started focusing on building community. As you guys already heard, I have a huge value for that. And that's the component of the system that attracts clients, retains clients, and multiplies clients. I'm all about providing unlimited value. It really helps
real quick, describe your community. I mean, I think I have a sense of it, but I want everyone to know, like, what is the community?
My community started with figuring out my ideal client and getting hyper specific about it. I know that a lot of people are scared to niche down with who your audience is going to be because you don't want to exclude anyone, because we work in a high margin business, right? But I will tell you this. Well, first, let me tell you about my ideal client. She's 30 to 50 years old. She works full time. She has a career she's pretty passionate about. She's also pretty passionate about her kids, depending on the day. She might be married, she might be divorced, but I just mentioned she works full time and she also has kids. And so she's on that hamster wheel that a lot of us women feel like we're on, where we don't own our time. So the idea of financial freedom, as lofty as it seems, the beauty of it would be that we would have more control over what we chose to spend our time doing, and we would feel less exhausted every minute of every day. So when I think about her and what she needs, I know that she needs to be educated and empowered about money and financial literacy. But I also know she's probably not going to read a book about it at night, because if it doesn't have 50 Shades of something or fairies, she's going to fall asleep. And I also know she's probably not hitting up the next Bigger Pockets convention, because who would watch the kids? So this is where I come in, providing her education on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok. So when she thinks she's just unwinding on her couch at the end of the night on her phone, I'm actually educating her then. And then I built a community out from her by creating my Future is Female event that empowers local women as real estate investors, but also raises money for the Women and Children's Center in our community. And so far, we've raised almost $20,000 for them through this process. I also have this Mortgage and Mimosas event. Now men and women come to it, but it started as being promoted as Reno's hottest real estate clique. And I actually got the idea for Mortgage and Mimosas from Denise Donahue, who we all know and love here. And she was kind enough to share the idea with me and let me do it in Reno. And then I made it my own, and it's blown up. But it's all this community that comes out of this avatar client or this avatar referral partner that I want to work with. But the thing I'm going to tell you guys, if you're thinking, no way could I ever niche down that specific, is that when we run my numbers, which we do all the time, and check out the demographics of who I'm working with, I do more business with male realtors and male clients. Because when you're enthusiastic about something, that energy doesn't repel anyone. It attracts people. But anyways, let me get back on the system.
Wait. I want to pause here real quick. You keep sharing the screen. By the way, Gil, she's in Reno, right? Reno is your market. And for the person to ask, this will be replayed. You know, these videos always go to our YouTube channel. It'll be there within a couple hours. You know, Chris and Todd, we're currently planning an event, probably in June, and it's going to be for First Home IQ. And the title of it is going to be Purpose and Profits Mastermind. And I just listened to you, and you epitomize someone that, you know, is purposeful. You know, you have a mission, you know, there's a passion, there's a purpose that's bigger than money. While money's part of it, like, hey, you're a for-profit entrepreneur, but it's all interwove between profits and purpose. You know, by the way, what do you think of that name, the Purpose and Profits Mastermind? You like it?
That's amazing. And I love a good alliteration, obviously.
Yeah. All right, cool. So anyways, keep going. I just wanted to call that out. I also want to call out to everyone listening to this, write down purpose and profits and really get clear on the purpose part of it. You know, I was recently asked on a podcast, how do I remain so passionate about mortgage, you know, 38 years into this, you know, and not bragging, but I've done well financially. It's not the profits part of what I do. I mean, it's the purpose part of what I do, and the passion I have to change how people get into debt, and the passion I have to really put a dent in financial literacy in America keeps me pumped, and it keeps me fired up. And so I push everyone, because it is a tough time in the market right now. And if the market and interest rates and how many loans you close are, you know, front and center, and that's your why, it's going to be hard to be pumped, because selling, you know, rates over 7% when, you know, 63% of Americans have 2 or 3%, that's not super fun. But if you've got a purpose bigger than your profits, you'll make it through this grindy time of the industry. So anyways, keep going.
I think that's so spot on, because when I think about that community that I've built out now, it becomes really easy to continue showing up for them, even when the market's tough, because I know I'm the center of this community and I'm their source of calm. So even if the news isn't exactly what everyone wants to hear right now, I know I have a responsibility to show up and share with these people what it means for them. Coming back to that question, what does it mean for you? So if you lose inspiration on creating your marketing, if you lose inspiration about how you're going to deliver your buyer consultation, I want you to think back to your community and what your role is there. When you're the source of calm for your community, you never have nothing to say. No matter how bad the market news is, no matter how fast things are changing, you'll always be inspired, because you always know what your target audience needs to hear. You'll be driving around in your car thinking about today's inflation report, and you're like, Okay, what does my target audience need to do with this information? What does this mean for them? And then you get fired up. Like, you never run out of inspiration when you do it this way. So I think I just spoke about how you can provide unlimited value within your community. And you also want to own your authority there, because sometimes we feel like, we aren't the boss to give people advice, or we don't know everything there is to know on the market, or we don't know every guideline out there. I don't think that's what owning your authority means. I think owning your authority is training yourself to be in a position where you can teach and learn at the same time, because that's the most powerful. There's nothing more dangerous than a know-it-all. That's not what I want you guys to be. I want you to own your authority as the loan officer who cares the most about what happens to that client. As long as you are the one who cares the most, you are the best one to help them that day. Always, without a doubt. So the part of the system that I really wanted to get into.
Time out. I just got to put an exclamation mark on that, because when I interview loan officers that are mortgage coaches, and I kind of surf mountaintops finding loan officers that are still killing it in this market, gaining market share, and their advisors, and it just, every time, whether they say it, you can just tell, like, they care more about the impact they have on folks than average loan officers. So it just, that's just a trend I see. I'm glad that you called it out.
So the part of the system I really wanted to get into was the part about where is the slide I want? Well, I'll just explain it to you. But in the second half of the system, I have the next 4 steps, which are awkward silences, how to master them. It's an art where you just allow enough time for people to speak. Then you find the fear behind their objection, because what you ultimately want to do is unlock trust with people, right? We want to be the person that they trust completely, so that's because when they do trust us, that's where we get their loyalty, where we're going to help them with this loan, the next loan. After that, we're also going to help all their friends and family, because they're part of our community now, and they trust us, and they want to give back to us the way that we've poured into them. But in the finding the fear behind people's objections, some actionable items you can start in your buyer consultations today. 1, you're going to allow them full time to speak. You're going to give these people time to be heard. Let's understand, mental health is not great. Also, let's understand that when someone comes into our office for that financial colonoscopy, it's not a comfortable thing for them. They're not like stoked on it. So let's create a safe place. Let's make them comfortable. Let's do whatever we can to allow them to feel heard and seen. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I met with a CPA. This guy was so desperate to prove to me that he was an expert, that he kept cutting me off. He kept trying to talk in circles around me. He came off as super condescending. And I left there. It doesn't matter if this guy's the best CPA in the world. It doesn't matter if this guy could save me $100,000 on my taxes. I left there feeling completely unseen, unheard, and uninterested in working with him. We don't want people to leave our offices that way. I know we're so excited to jump in with the script that Josh taught us, and it would kill it to use that script. I know it. But the key is to use it at the right time. First, let them speak completely, validate their concerns, ask them what those mean to them. What do high interest rates mean for you? I don't know. My brother got a 2.875 on his house. What does that mean for you? Rates are 7%. That's rude. I agree. That is rude. But what does that mean for you? I don't know. Are you worried about your monthly payment? Oh, yeah. That's why I care about higher interest rates, because of my monthly payment. Okay, great. I have strategies I can use to help you get a better monthly payment, specifically in this market, because of what we can ask the seller for. Let me show you those. Let's focus on the monthly payment and let's get it somewhere you feel comfortable. Right now, you've gotten somewhere with them. So you're in your buyer consultation with them. You've created a safe space for them to speak. You've allowed them time to speak. You're not jumping in with everything you know. You are the expert. Be confident in that. Own your authority in that. Know that your time to assert that is coming later. You ask them, what does this mean for you? And then when they're talking, right, we have a process where we qualify people. We all follow the same guidelines, and then we all make a beautiful mortgage coach with a video that we share with them to make it easy to understand for them. We're qualifying them up to a certain ratio. We're using their gross income. we're telling them the max they can afford to shop in. That might not be where they're comfortable at all, right? But one thing we're all dealing with is that when we tell them the price range they qualify to shop in, they have sticker shock about the monthly payment. Anybody in the chat talked to someone recently who had sticker shock about the monthly payment? Because I know it happens to me and my team daily. When they're having sticker shock about a monthly payment, we don't need to skim past it. We don't need to like, the mortgage coach is going to show the monthly payment. It is what it is. We can show them the seller concessions. We can show them a 3-2-1 buy down. But what we need to do when they're freaked out about the monthly payment is go one step further as a financial person. Let's talk to them about what they do with their money. We just did all the qualification, I know. But now on a basic piece of paper, let's whip out the notepad and say, here's your net take home, the dollars you have to work with every month. Here are the monthly bills I see. What else do you spend your money on? Gas, groceries, childcare, the things I'm not seeing on your credit report. Let's go through those. Then you get to a bottom amount of money that's left every month after they've paid for the things they budget. This is when I ask them, what happens to this money every month? And they're like, well, I don't know. This is the money I live off of. Don't Dave Ramsey me now and tell me that if I stop going to Starbucks, I'm going to buy a house. Never would I do that. But what I do want to say is, okay, so this money every month at the end, it just kind of disappears in restaurants and on the weekends. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm not shaming you. I mean, like, it would be cool though, like if you had some sweet new kicks or you booked a vacation with that money, but right now it just disappears. Maybe you'd be okay with diverting some of this disappearing money every month towards a higher housing expense if it was one that earned you money back. Do you want me to show you how this earns you money back? And then you get into your net worth and your rent versus own, and you show them how if we can divert some of just the disappearing money, the money you have nothing to show for every month, and make your budget for housing a little bit higher, then the sticker shock on the monthly payment goes down. And they're like, okay, so if I restructure my finances a bit, this could work for me. And I don't need to spend all that money in restaurants on weekends anyways.
Love this. I've been seeing a lot of the folks that I'm interviewing and that are having this conversation where they're, and let's just call it optimizing the purchase power for the consumer, helping the consumer really
That's really
optimize their purchase power, which we need to do in this market. I mean, there's a affordability crisis, like purchase power needs to be optimized. And two of the tactics I hear most common are, one, they're showing the net worth over 5 years, like that is a data point. So they could really see based off of their assumptions, how real estate's appreciating, what that looks like. And then another important part of optimizing purchase power in this market, I think, is showing what the future refi might look like. So while they're seeing sticker shock, like, ouch, they're seeing that, hey, you know what? Rates are going to be in the 5s or, the low 6s again. And I can refinance, and then they can visualize their long-term
where this
mortgage.
is going to go.
And now they can optimize it. Are you doing things like that? I mean, are those pieces of the puzzle as to how you bring, solution to consumers?
Yeah, we definitely walk through the scenarios of what would it be like if interest rates were 6.5? What would it be like if interest rates were 6? And another reason why we're doing that is because if someone cannot buy at 7.5% interest, let's be real, guys, a lot of the people who don't qualify right now are like very affluent, like they make a lot of money, they have a good amount of savings, and they still don't qualify in this market. That's the truth. This market's challenging. So a lot of the leads that cannot buy today are still gold, right? They're truly gold leads. So part of the reason we're going through with them and showing them what a 6.5% interest rate does to their monthly payment is because I don't want them to wait until the media tells them that rates are low again, and then all their competition is back in the market again. I don't have to talk about that whole script. You guys have probably been over it ad nauseum, but I want them to know to watch for the specific number they need where they feel comfortable with the monthly payment and the price range they need to shop in.
So walk us through, show us how you do that. And remember, guys, if you have questions, put your questions down below. We're at a little past halftime. We're in the third quarter of this call, so it's time to get tactical and put questions and comments, and then if you could maybe walk us through a TCA and give us an entire strategy.
Before we get into that TCA, someone asked, how do I reach the people who are too scared to even come into my office to have this buyer consult? And I think that's a really good point. So I want to get to it. When you think about your ideal client, so if you guys don't know your ideal client and you're not so specific about them that you know what they do at night, you know where they go to get their coffee, you know everything about them. I want you to do that today. I want you to map them out. And then I want you to map out a community where you can provide value to these people besides selling them a mortgage. But then you got to think of how does this person get information? What's the best way to reach them? So for my target person, it's not calling her, right? She's busy during the day and she doesn't want to talk on the phone at night. And it wasn't planning events in person for her because a lot of times she can't come to those. When I did start to have those events, I had to have already provided her so much value that she was willing to make the sacrifices it would take to get a babysitter to show up at that event. So I want you to think, how do I reach my target client? Do they spend most of their time on TikTok? Do they spend most of their time on Instagram? Are they older and they're living on Facebook more? Maybe they're not into social media at all, and the only thing they're dipping their toes into is LinkedIn. That's where I need to be. Maybe they still watch the news, so I need to try to get on the local news. Maybe they listen to podcasts, so I need to try to get there. Think about where they get their information, and then I want you to show up there, not with anything salesy, free advice, complete transparency. Just whatever's inside your business, let them in. So however you need to do that. If I could okay, so when I was a kid, I'm Indian and I grew up, I'm Hindu. And so growing up in America, we would ask our parents, like, what are all these other religions? Who's Jesus? Like, is there a right way? Is there a wrong way? And our parents told us that God is in a house. And you guys are thinking, what is this lady talking about now? Like, how did we get here? I promise I'm bringing it home. So God is in a house and the house has windows, and every different religion is just a window that you can look through to see God. And it's all the same God. Everybody's just looking at him a different way, or her. But as long as you're looking through a window, you're okay. So now pretend you're God. And this is where you guys really think I'm bonkers. But pretend you and your business is inside this house. Are you allowing enough windows in for people to see how good it is in here? Or are you trying to keep all the shades drawn so no one can see what you're doing, so no one can rip it off and duplicate it? That strategy is not going to work in today's market. You've got to open all the blinds, completely just open the windows, air your shit out, and let people see how you run your business and how good it is in here. So if you're worried that people aren't reaching out to you because they're scared and you can't get them in for a buyer consult, do the buyer consult online for everybody for free. Literally, whatever it takes to get them inside your business so they can see how great it is to work with you, because you're not doing yourself any service by keeping that a secret.
So you got a lot of hearts. People loved that analogy. I want to show something on my screen real quick because I want to anchor this. So important, guys. And this is not just in this market. This is going forward in the mortgage industry. I mean, there's been a seismic shift, and rates are never going to 2% again. They're never going to 3% again. Maybe they'll get in the 4s. And so, getting there first matters. Getting to the need matters most. And if you're delivering a transactional experience with a fee worksheet, first of all, that is not what people want to see when they look through the window. I love that window analogy. Like, if you're not, with every consumer you serve, like, giving them options, showing them, with 2 points, 1 point, no points, and a refi. And by the way, making sure that it's tailored. Like, I'm showing you a 2 point to 1 point to 0 points. That may be spectacular and really valuable to someone, but that could be completely
irrelevant to someone.
Tone deaf, irrelevant. You are completely becoming noise and obnoxious with someone else. Like, you need to make sure that this is tailored. This, 2 weeks ago, this might have been a seller concession buy down. This week, this is a 2-1 buy down, or some type of a lender funded buy down, not a seller buy down in your market. So it's got to be tailored to the consumer and tailored to the market. And that is just, I believe, table stakes going forward in mortgage. Like there's an advice revolution. And if you're not already an advisor, like you are in the right place. But any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So you led me into what I want to show on my TCA. So there's this tailored advice thing where we have to let the client, well, we're training ourselves to tell the client that we give tailored advice. We're practicing our scripts about why a total cost analysis is such a beautiful thing. We're also talking about how, we are not the online bank that's going to rip you off with a bunch of points for a rate that could be available for free in the near future. Like we are in it for the long haul with you. We want to be your mortgage advisor for life. So we want to put you in the right loan program now. We'll refinance you later. We'll do the next refinance after that. We'll do the next mortgage after that. A lot of times these scripts become so ingrained into our heads. The stories you tell yourself matter. I learned that from Jesse Itzler. But the stories we tell ourselves are a choice. And so we can keep telling ourselves all these stories about the market being too hard right now. We can tell ourselves stories about not wanting to show up on social media because the platform's too crowded. Or we can focus on the story we need to tell people, right? We could focus on who we could help with our stories. We could focus on what our audience needs to hear. The thing about stories, though, is that it's very easy to believe, right? You say something enough times, you believe it as fact. That's when you have to come back to your total cost analysis and see the numbers, because the numbers don't lie. So I had these clients who were getting into contract and they were buying a property.
By the way, I don't know. We're seeing your family. Oh, there we go. Now we see the TCA.
So I had these clients that were making an offer on a house that was listed at 1.275. And it's a jumbo loan, so I can't do a temporary buy down in this scenario. So they were saying, well, we'll just come in at 1.2 and not ask for any seller credits. I was like, yeah, that probably makes the most sense, because we don't want to spend a shit ton of money buying your interest rate down when we could probably refinance in 2 years to that interest rate for free. So I don't want you to waste the seller credit. Let's, make a lower purchase price. And then I thought, wait a second, Shivani, don't just act like you know. I know you've been doing this 11 years. You don't know everything. Run the numbers. So I get into my mortgage coach and I'm plugging in the total cost analysis. And I put in what I think they should do. 1.2 million, come in a little bit low, put your 20% down, get the house for a lesser price. And then I'm like, well, let's just see if we offered list price and asked for a credit. Yeah, okay. I was expecting it would make a big difference on the monthly payment. You guys see this, you know how to read a total cost analysis, $500. That's pretty sweet. But again, am I going to have them spend a bunch of money to buy a rate that might be available for free in the near future? That would be stupid. I'd be wasting money. No, I'll get into my total cost analysis. I shorten the short-term savings down to 18 months because conservatively, I think we'll be able to refinance in 18 months. Holy shit, that still makes more sense. That's their net savings, taking into account the cost to finance. You guys know how these work. You know how the calculations are foolproof. I'm like, oh, wow, asking for the credit actually made more sense. And this is where I think the beauty of being a real advisor and showing people the numbers comes in, because we can assume sometimes we know best. We've got a lot of experience. And that's what a lot of other loan officers out there are doing right now. They know everything. They've done this a million times. They're not down with having you do this. Here's the thing. I own my authority. I also trust the numbers. And I'm going to show you both. You do what you want to do. You do what you feel the most comfortable with. My job is to make sure you have full transparency and know all of the options and know how they would shake out.
Love that TCA, and love how you're just showing up with curiosity and care. Like those are the two C's I hear. Like you care about the consumer and you're curious. And then, when you show them the numbers with the care and the curiosity, they trust you and they get value from you. And I'm sure that they, sometimes it's a no, like not now, and that's okay. I'd rather have a fast not now than a really slow not now, or a passive aggressive not now, where they're out looking at houses, they're making losing offers, they're not making confident offers to win. And that's driving realtors crazy, and trust me.
This client that I shared this total cost analysis with, he's a financial advisor. So the value he got from it, where he was like, oh, wow, Even I'm surprised. You taught me something. One of the best ways to earn people's trust is to teach them something they didn't already know just by showing them another perspective. That is the hack to earning people's trust. Teach them something they didn't know.
Boom. When I founded MortgageCoach, the name of the company was Wow Tools, because that was the game I was playing. Like, I want to, and how do you wow someone? You teach them something they didn't know that creates an aha, like, I never thought of that. So you couldn't be more right. A couple things I want to make sure you guys, I've mentioned this page a couple times. Shivani, you're going to be on this page. Couldn't have a 10X without Shivani's picture on here. But these two, well, first of all of these are like literally master classes in how top producers that are killing it in this market right now are speed to need. They're getting to the need of the consumer. They're delivering advice. This one from Josh kind of is on point to what Shivani just taught us. And if you watch this, Josh actually goes through an affordability strategy. And, he showed a feature in MortgageCoach. I don't know if you do this, Shivani, but where like he'll show one program and then he'll show another program. He's using the live feature. And
oh yeah, that's cool.
He's adding the features.
You don't overwhelm them.
Yeah. So it's like it started off with 1, then 2, then 3. I think it ended up getting to 4. I can't remember. Do you ever use that functionality within MortgageCoach to like layer it like that?
Starting today, I do. That is so smart because you can keep their focus where you need it to make sure the information is landing.
Yeah, and I'll log in real quick just to make sure everyone knows how to do that. You can have the whole TCA built out, and then you could check and uncheck what you want. So you know how to do it. All right, so we got about 15 minutes left, a little less than 15 minutes. What do you want to make sure gets shared before we run out of time? Any more specific needs, any other TCAs, or just other things that you want to make sure get shared?
Well, I want you guys to just use this as a huge opportunity where you can lay some foundational stones in your business. Because if we back up to 2017, which is a period similar to where I think we are now, the market had kind of slowed and I was really having a hard time in my business because I was kind of tired of spending all my time, energy, and money begging other people for business. And so that's when I started building out the Mind Over Market system. And the inspiration for me was just, I want to go directly to the people I can help. I want to find more of my ideal client because when I work with her, I don't feel like quitting my job, and multiply her, build a community of similar people. And during that time, I spent a lot of energy laying some foundational stones in my business. Then here comes 2020, where market conditions shift and my growth was exponential. My business exploded. So if right now you guys know that lower rates are on the horizon, market conditions will be better for us in the near future, there has never been a more important time to invest in yourself, your skills as an advisor, and your business and your marketing than right now. Because that way, when the market conditions turn, it all piles up and you are like a rocket and you just explode. So right now is not the time to take your foot off the gas. Now is not the right time to mail it in and take a break. Now is the time to go all in. That being said, I think our business can really lead to burnout. And it's a dangerous thing we all need to be aware of, right? Because when things are going really well, we have to work like 80 hours a week sometimes. When things are shitty, we don't work at all, but we're in panic mode. We go into scarcity mindset. So I want you guys to work like you did when it was 2020. We were killers in 2020. We answered our phone every time it rang because every phone call could have been a $5,000 refi. You know what I mean? Like $5,000 of money we were going to make. We never missed the phone calls. We answered emails like ninjas. We just moved. We blasted out through our to-do list so fast. We were in the mode. Now, I guarantee everybody has an email in their inbox they could have already answered, but they know they'll have time to do it later. So we've just gotten a little soft. Instead, I would challenge you to work like a ninja. Get in the office at 8:30, go balls to the wall, work hard, and maybe leave 2 hours early, knowing you gave it your all today and you earned this time during the slower market to take care of yourself. You put the work in on your business, you're taking care of yourself, you're charging your batteries for when things shift. So do both, guys. Go hard in your business and take care of yourself by not half-assing things. You have time to do both right now. And don't miss the opportunity to do both, because our business can be really taxing. And I don't want you to get burned out when the market conditions shift. I want you to be ready to rock.
Amen. Love that, guys. Such gold, such wisdom. So couple things I want to add, a few things. So by the way, I also put the Daniel Saw interview that I did. I created an article, and I want you all to think, what are the skills you need to upgrade? But Daniel's killing it right now. He is the market share leader in Columbus, Ohio, took out Rocket, is on track to close 300. And actually that number is up. It's like thinks he's going to close 385 loans. He's got, by the way, guys, he's got 35 loan officers in his branch, and they average 6.4 loans per loan officer last month. So, I mean, this dude is killing it, but he's got an approach, and I want you guys to be thinking, like, what are the skills that you need to work on? And usually I find, Shivani, I think you said I have 8 steps. I think Daniel had 7 steps. But when you think of a perfect experience that you give a consumer, there's 5 to 8 steps, and delivering a mortgage coach total cost analysis is always, Daniel calls it solutioning, when he delivers the solution, and it really matters. So I want you to make sure that between now and the end of the year, you guys are working on your skills, but also want to make sure everybody's working on your purpose. Like, what is your purpose beyond your profits? Shivani, I want you to do 2 things as we go into wrapping this up. One, you had that box with your story. I want you to what are the words you use when expressing your story in the market? And then I want you to share, what is your purpose that's bigger than your profits? And then I want everyone who's listening to this, like, what's your purpose that's bigger than your profits? But Shivani, would you mind giving us a little more description of that story panel that you had and the purpose that you're on right now?
When you guys are thinking about your story, you want to position yourself as a hero for the client who's going to help them get past any obstacles that stand in their way from point A, which is where you are right now, to point B, which is whatever they tell you is their goal. You might believe their goal is home ownership. You might believe their goal is to be a real estate investor. You might believe their goal is to stop renting. Whatever they tell you is their goal, you need to have a story where you demonstrate to them that you can be the hero who helps them get past all these obstacles that stand in their way to be at their goal. My story is one of being an underdog, having to rely on realtors for business, them shitting on me all the time, and me being in a market where there's major players, guys, like some of the top producing female loan officer. I think Shayla's the shit, but she's in my market. And I'm like, why bother if I can't be the winner, and why compete? And then I realized I have something to give. I can own my authority. I'm unique, and I have a unique value that I can offer every client who gets in touch with me. So I found, what is the unique value I'm going to provide to people, and how am I going to do it on an unlimited basis? Then I thought about my story. Who am I? What do I like? Okay, you guys already could probably figured out I'm very unfiltered. I'm a little too transparent. I sometimes make people uncomfortable, but I really, really like empowering people to win. I shared with you guys who my target audience is. If I went even more micro on that, the reason I want to help women is because I feel like for so long we've been the underdog, and I don't want anyone to feel like an underdog. So if we fast forward to this market where buyers are feeling pretty abused and beat up, and like a lot of things are out of their control, when they come to me, I'm going to help them get a house. I'm going to help them get to their goals. Most importantly, I'm going to help them operate in this market feeling like they're not getting shit on anymore, like they're not the underdog, and like they have some control over their future. I'm going to empower them with the skills and the knowledge they need to feel that way. And I think everybody here on this call has a story that they can tap into and use to connect with people.
I love that. I love that. And if people wanted to follow you, get a better sense of everything. I mean, obviously you're very active on Instagram and you've got a kilogram. We'll put a link down below if you're watching this on YouTube, a link to you on Instagram. What are some other places people should follow you?
So you can always check out my Mind Over Markets program. You can learn a lot about it on Instagram, like Dave just said. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, and slide into my DMs. Like, let's talk, let's be friends. I love community. I love when people collaborate. I'm all about collaboration over competition. I get together with Shayla here in my market because I respect her and I think we can learn from people we respect. And I respect you guys for being a part of this community. So let's help each other.
I love that. Notice how she's very abundant in her thinking. She knows who the top producer is, and she's got a unique value prop, despite the fact she's, competing with one of America's top mortgage professionals. I love everything about you. Also want to push people, to First Home IQ. If you have not already got on the mailing list, get on the mailing list. We have 90 people that have applied, mortgage professionals that applied to be ambassadors. So far, we've approved 26 ambassadors, and we're getting ready to add another 20-ish this month. So make sure you check that out. So we got 3 minutes. Any closing thoughts? Any books you've read lately? Any just last words of wisdom before we wrap it?
Someone asked in the chat, what's my 3-sentence response for why someone should pick me over the competition? You guys, it's so simple. Figure out what makes you the person who cares more than anyone else. So when someone asks me, why should they work with me over my competition? You all here may not know this, but I'm currently pursuing my master's degree in marriage and family therapy because people fight about money in my office all the time. And people have a kind of messed up relationship with money in our country, and it affects their ability to achieve home ownership. So when clients say, why should I work with you over your competition? I say, because I have invested so heavily in myself to make sure I'm the best advisor to guide you through this, to make sure that I'm able to offer you full transparency. And third part, because I'm going to put you in the driver's seat. But first, I'm going to make sure you're ready to drive that car. And then you get to make the decisions on what's best for you and your financial future.
Boom. It's all about the customer, by the way, guys. Did you know that? Like, yeah, I'm prepared. I care. And then I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you be the hero. I'm going to help you navigate this, snake pit of achieving home ownership. Super powerful sequencing. Shivani, as always, I absolutely love interviewing you. I love the vibe that you bring to our industry. Keep up the great work. I'm looking forward to our next interview already. Everyone, let Shivani know what you thought of today's interview. Give her a reaction down below. And I think I might even change the name of this and call it, purpose and profits with Shivani Peterson, and make this the first time I've done a purpose and profits interview. So Shivani, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me be here. And thanks everyone for making the time to invest in yourselves like this.
All right. Take care, everybody. This is a wrap.